Can you tell me your name and your rank and what you did at Nakhon
Hi.
Phanom, Thailand?
Larry Zimmerman. I was a captain assigned to Task Force Alpha, and I was in charge of the photo intelligence, meaning aerial photography analysis there in Task Force Alpha.
I have heard when people walked into Task Force Alpha, it looked like Star Wars compared to what anybody at the time would have expected. What was inside? And can you tell us what Task Force Alpha was and then what was inside of it?
Task Force Alpha was a communication and tracking center for North Vietnamese traffic on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. We were monitoring it. We were planning for the placement of sensors by aerial drops, and then we were both monitoring the sensors, and additionally we had the capability of monitoring aerial photography over the trail. At the end of the monsoon, when the repair of the road began or the trail began, we could monitor as they improved it, brought it back to a condition where they could move traffic along it, and then trying to interdict it along the way.
What kind of sensors were implemented in the trail network?
You had, well, a lot of these were adapted from Navy sensors. We had, the one was an ADSID. These were just dropped in, call them aerial bombs with fins to prevent them from sinking too far in the ground, and they had camouflage antennas. This was an acoustic sensor. And then we had AccuBuoys, whereby you tried to drop these into the canopy so you could literally monitor conversations on the ground.
How effective was that? That seems. Do you have an example that you recall?
Well, it could be effective. We used to do with the dog and pony show for incoming dignitaries or people to impress them. The AccuBuoy had an AccuBuoy was hanging in the canopy, and obviously the North Vietnamese spotted it, started climbing up to reach for it, and you could hear the poor gentleman reaching for it and didn't quite make it, and you could hear him all the way back down to the ground. So that was used to impress people. It depended upon the, I want to say hit and miss, because the signal was transferred from the sensor up to orbiting aircraft, who then relayed it back down to us. Now, not every sensor worked properly. If you had a string, we had 4 to 5 in a string. If you had 3 sensors working in a string, you could do some detection. And then the batteries would go down.
Speed, direction. What would that do for you?
We know where they were and the direction they were going, and then this could be relayed up, hopefully for an airstrike.
Now, that was while people were listening, correct?
Exactly. Well, this was computer monitoring as well. They would get a signal via computer. So yes, it would look Star Wars-ish.
When you walked in the room, what would you see if you walked in there today?
You walk in and see a huge briefing room with a lot of computer arrays. Now, obviously, these are these are big boxes then. Yeah. And there was a big screen up with a platform for the morning briefing for the general.
Wow. And who was in charge? Which general was in charge at that time?
General Butcher when I was there. I was there from 1969 to 70, September to September.
And what would a daily task be like for you in Task Force Alpha?
Well, we operated around the clock. We got aerial photography that was flown out of Udon. And they would send down, fly down the coverage from the previous day. And we would look for evidence going through. And of course, we would get morning delivery and then evening delivery, so the people in the night shift could be doing the same thing. It would be looking for activity. We had a morning briefing. If we had something significant, we would get up and brief. Now, this was my section. In addition, we had the sensor placement, another section of the of our subunit, which would brief the delivery and hopeful the placement of the sensors so they knew where they were.